Hong Kong Disneyland may be Disney's least visited Magic Kingdom style park, but that doesn't mean that there's no reason to visit. Hong Kong Disneyland opened in 2005 and is very closely modelled on Disneyland Resort in California. Over the years, the park has had several expansions and now stands at 68 acres compared to 100 acres at the original Disneyland and 140 acres in Paris, for example. We'll start off in Tomorrowland with the park's newest attraction, which is Ant-Man and the Wasp Nano Battle. This ride opened in March 2019 and it replaced Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. It's a huge upgrade over that ride in my opinion. Despite the fact I've not seen the Ant-Man films, I did really enjoy this more than the Buzz rides in the other Disney parks. The ride has been completely rethemed and definitely feels more modern. It has a new laser-based and much more accurate shooting system, and the scenes inside include things like video projection screens, which really make it feel that bit more modern. The other major change is that in this version you don't get to spin the vehicle around using a joystick, so the cars rotate to show you certain scenes in the same way they do on Haunted Mansion, for example. The new laser shooting system really makes a big difference, as you can actually tell where you're aiming and shooting, and the targets here, they also open and close, so there's a little bit of an extra element of difficulty there. They've also used this new ride shooting system in the Buzz ride in Shanghai, and that also really improved that ride, so hopefully they'll end up rolling this out to all the parks over the next few years. I wouldn't necessarily make a trip specifically for this attraction, but it's definitely worth doing while you're there. Also in Tomorrowland, another ride that feels familiar, but with a different theme, is Iron Man Experience. Now this isn't strictly speaking a retheme, and that's because this was a new addition to the park in 2017, and it didn't replace anything else. However, it does use the same ride system as Star Tours. Apparently this is a next generation version of that ride system, although honestly as a guest I couldn't really say that I noticed a huge difference. I'm not hugely into either the Star Wars or the Iron Man franchises, to be honest, although I definitely watch more of the Star Wars films, so I enjoyed this ride equally to Star Tours, but I do have a little bit of extra nostalgia for that one. I do enjoy the simulator style rides, but I do feel they are a bit stale compared to the dark ride simulator attractions with things like Spider-Man, Transformers or Pirates in Shanghai, so I can't help but think that nowadays they're really missing an opportunity by still doing these standard simulators. If you're a huge Iron Man fan though, I'm sure you'll really enjoy it a lot. I definitely didn't dislike it, but I can't say that it blew me away either. Next up is perhaps Disney's longest name ever for a ride, Big Grizzly Mountain Runaway Mine Cars. So this is a roller coaster which is set in Grizzly Gulch, a land that doesn't exist in any of the other Disney parks. The area is kind of a mix of Frontierland and Grizzly Peak from Disney California Adventure, so it feels familiar but also new. This is the land's only real attraction. There's also a small water play area and some photo spots, but Big Grizzly Mountain Runaway Mine Cars is a mix of Expedition Everest and Big Thunder Mountain. So the ride starts off as most coasters do, by going forward, and then Expedition Everest style you go around part of the track backwards, except that here the technology has clearly evolved a bit and you don't stop on the lift hill and then go backwards like on Everest. Instead your train is just going up the hill and then you hear and you see this cable break and then you instantly start going backwards. The most thrilling part of the ride is when the bears set off some dynamite and you switch from going backwards to going forwards. There's a big blast of air and it's very loud and you're launched like on Rock and Roller Coaster, and in this case you hit 72 kilometers an hour, which is actually only a tiny bit slower than Everest. There's no big drop or anything here, but it's a really fun ride. I would have liked it maybe to be a tiny bit more intense, but it's certainly much more intense than something like Big Thunder Mountain. The theming is great, there's a storyline, and it's a unique coaster, so for me this is a must ride in the park. And the final major attraction before I get onto my honourable mentions is Mystic Manor, which is probably the park's flagship ride and the one that most Disney fans will have heard of. So Mystic Manor is in its own mini-land called Mystic Point, and when I say mini-land, I really mean mini-land. Very often I've heard this described as an upgraded version of the Haunted Mansion, but honestly I don't think that it's comparable at all to those. For a start, it has no ghosts, no spirits, nothing like that. They don't really do that in the Chinese and Hong Kong cultures. I don't think the theme is even slightly similar to Haunted Mansion. Instead you enter a big Victorian style mansion, but this one isn't run down or anything. It's actually very colourful, and from the outside it reminds you a bit of the house from Up. And then you go into the house and you'll see this collection of artifacts collected by the owner Henry Mystic. Meet his cute pet monkey called Albert. The ride itself takes place in trackless ride vehicles just like those seen in Ratatouille in Paris or Pooh's Honey Hunt in Tokyo, and then it's traditional dark ride as you go between the different scenes. Because it's trackless, the ride is re-rideable in that the ride vehicles take different paths in some of the rooms, so you do definitely have at least a couple of variations of some of the scenes in there. And the theming is great, the music is fantastic, and the special effects are really well done. There's a really great mix of projections onto real set moving pieces and animatronics. So this is Disney, so it is mainly real set pieces, which I think is great, and that they're not just relying on screens. The ride also is quite long, it's 5.5 minutes, which means that you don't feel like it's a really short experience after you've ridden it. And some of the scenes are actually really good. I really enjoyed the last two in particular, so the second to last scene, where you're in a room in a whirlwind and the room wall breaks apart, and then the last scene is incredible. So with the last room, you go into this room and it's quite dark, and you've got these sort of floating particles like pixie dust kind of thing that have escaped from the music box, and they're making their way back into the box. And these are all around you, it's not just projected onto the walls. It's very clever, it's very well done. I did figure out how it worked on a second ride, but nevertheless the tech is really impressive. Mystic Manor is the ride that I would say is worth going to the park for on its own, as well as Big Grizzly Mountain Runaway Mine Cars. But if I had to choose between the two, then for me, this is definitely more unique and more highly themed. I loved it. I think that this proves that Disney can use this trackless ride system really well. I'd love to see more of these trackless systems used in dark rides. I also really like that it's an original story. It's not an IP, and that's actually the same with the Minecars roller coaster as well. Now, time for some honourable mentions at the park. First of all, in Fantasyland we have Fairy Tale Forest, which is a walkthrough attraction with scenes and models from various Disney films. It's a bit like storybook canal boats from Disneyland or Disneyland Paris, or Voyage to the Crystal Grotto in Shanghai Disneyland, but without the ride system, and it's simpler. And I also like that they've integrated the Tinkerbell meet and greet in there. It's not a must-do, but it is something that's unique about this park. We also have Jungle Cruise, which is broadly similar to the ones in the other parks, but I don't think this version is meant to be funny. So it's more like, wow, look at that cute elephant. They also offer it in Cantonese, Mandarin and English with separate queue lines for each, which I think is really great. As far as main differences, it feels really short compared to the other versions of the ride, but it makes up for it with a cool finale that has some fire and some water. Again, I wouldn't say this is a must-do, but it's cool to see the differences between this version and the others. Finally, the shows at the park are all unique. There's a Moana show, which the less said about that, the better. There's Festival of Lion King, which here isn't an acrobatic show like at Disney's Animal Kingdom, it's more of a retelling of the film with the songs, so that is unique. And there's Mickey and the Wondrous Book, which I thought was really good, apart from the singers at the start and the end who sounded off key, but the actual character singers and the set designs with the screens I thought were really good. And the actual Wondrous Book prop was just huge and incredible. And of course the park has its own unique daytime parade called Flight to Fantasy that has been there now for 10 years, so it does feel a little bit like a last generation parade, especially now that the park has some more high-tech rides. Next year in 2021, Hong Kong Disneyland is set to have a new land open called Arendelle World of Frozen, and this is going to bring over a clone of Frozen Ever After from Epcot, and a new unique ride called Wandering Oaken's Sliding Sleighs. And this is going to use the same ride system as Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, so I'm excited to see that as a new unique addition to this park. In fact, Disney is building 17 different rides at its parks across the world at the moment, so if you want to find out more about those, check out the cards which will pop up now, or look at the link in the description for a video I made covering everything new coming to the parks. So there we go, all the unique attractions at Hong Kong Disneyland. If you're planning a trip here, check out our guidebook and ebook, The Independent Guide to Hong Kong Disneyland, and the link for that is in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Please give this video a like to help the video reach more people. YouTube really values the likes in deciding whether to recommend our video to other people or not, so please do. And do subscribe to the channel to get more Disney and theme park content. I publish 2 or 3 videos like this one every week, and I'm working on some really cool video ideas, which I think you'll like. Plus, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is it worth visiting Hong Kong Disneyland for these unique attractions, or is there just not enough there for you at the moment? If you're looking to watch something else, do check out my video comparing the 2 best hotels here at Hong Kong Disneyland, and honestly those are just as cool and as well themed as the park, so they're worth checking out. And if you're a really big Disney fan, then check out my ranking of all 12 Disney theme parks. And spoiler alert, Hong Kong Disneyland didn't rank too highly unfortunately, so check out that video to find out why. Thanks once again for watching. I'm G of Independent Guides, and I'll see you in the next video.